All right, yo, what's going on, all my gamers, all my Genshin gamers? Chat, I have finally come to do the thing. It is time. This Mujin video is about an hour long. I'm straight raw dogging it. I am not going to edit this video. This video has no editing. This video has no intro, outro, nothing. We are just straight going in because it is an hour long. Hell no, I'm not rendering a video for about an hour. Anyway, check. Let's go.
When I made my video about how a handful of
also, this is about the SAG after strike. I said I was going to react to this video, and here I am doing this. This is Mujin's video, the one that actually got him in trouble. Chat, will this get me in trouble? I guess we'll figure it out.
Voice actors ruined the SAG-AFTRA video game strike overnight. Honestly, I was expecting not just them to hate me, but all the voice actors combined. Because this video didn't just talk about how a few voice actors were entitled and very annoying.
I'm very surprised they haven't hated me yet. They actually, like, block Paper Bag Boy and everyone else, but they haven't blocked me, which is really funny because then I could just go over there and make fun of them.
It also criticized SAG-AFTRA, the union behind the strike, and their sometimes very weird, counterproductive behavior. And of course, I also criticized the strike itself, which was handled very poorly by SAG-AFTRA with minimal transparency, all while encouraging these entitled and unprofessional voice actors to continue doing what they're doing, which was ruining the reputation of all voice actors. That was until a few weeks after I uploaded that video when a friend of mine reached out to me. This friend of mine in particular happens to know dozens of voice actors who voice for games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, and many anime dubs. And they proceeded to tell me that these voice actors actually loved my video. But then, as I was shocked by the statement, they took it a step further, telling me that whenever a voice actor was confused about the strike, they would send them my video as the explanation, which I thought was crazy.
Okay. So far, so good.
Now, as you can imagine, I was blushing like a teenage girl who met their favorite K-pop idol. But that unfortunately didn't last long. What? Because the morbid reality hit me in the face.
Oh no.
And that reality is the fact that there are voice actors paying $3,000 to join SAG-AFTRA, all while paying them a percentage of their yearly income to stay in the union. And SAG-AFTRA couldn't even do the bare minimum and explain to them the strike that they're in, to the point where these voice actors have to go to this dumbass's channel in order to understand.
Is that who I think it is right there?
What the hell's going on in a strike they're supposedly a part of. But as ridiculous as this,
I just don't. I don't even get what's the point, man. What's the point of supporting a strike you don't even know what's going on nor you to believe in? These people aren't even striking. These people are doing like a collective work refusal because the strike. Chat, spoiler alert, I don't think he's gonna talk about it because this happened after his video was released. But chat, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler here. They finished the strike. The strike is pending to end at this point, and people are still saying that they're still gonna refuse to record Genshin Impact. Brother, what? God damn it. Go to work. Are you guys not bored? Go to work. It's so obnoxious, brother. Get to work. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm so annoyed.
This already is. Today, things have gotten worse, and the stakes have never been higher. US-based voice actors are being ditched in favor of overseas voice actors, and SAG-AFTRA for a while was not budging, receiving the best, last, and final offer and stating that they were going to send yet another counteroffer, risking the entire industry. Every voice actor was shouting at the top of their lungs, please end the strike so we can get back to work. It's been 10 months. I'm about to be homeless. But SAG-AFTRA took a ridiculously long time to finally budge and only did so on June 9th, 2025. That's more than 1 month since receiving the final best and last offer. And you have to wonder why. Well, thanks to an anonymous source, we don't have to wonder anymore. I was given a series of messages from members of the negotiating committee of SAG-AFTRA, clearly stating multiple times that they had no intentions on ending the strike anytime soon. Here's an example of someone on the negotiating committee sending this message shortly after my video came out, saying, "We are in the middle of a bargaining session, but some outside parties have engaged in a campaign to influence performers and we need to address it. Please look for a link from SAG-AFTRA in the morning." And when they say campaign to influence performers, they mean, oh, someone is telling the performers.
Wait. We are in the middle of bargaining a bargaining session, but Engage in a campaign to influence performers. Okay.
Which makes performers want
Surely
to end the strike and get
they're
back
not
to
talking
work.
about Mujin,
We need to
right?
address this.
Oh,
Even
no.
going as far as encouraging other voice actors in that private Discord to not vote yes on ending the strike if a vote is ever held.
Right.
Yep, you heard that right. Someone who's meant to stay impartial for the sake of the greater good, influencing other people to change their vote. These same negotiating committee members are being celebrated right now for being able to finally end the strike when in reality they never had any intentions to do so. On Twitter, I hinted that a video like this is coming on the 11th. What followed quickly afterwards was the Discord going on lockdown. They're worried, and they should be.
I've seen. Wait, what was it? What was it? Say that. Let's see that. Let's read that one more time. Chat. Let's read it together. I've seen a couple of comments today outside of this group alluding to screenshots being taken of the statements made in this server. I want to remind everyone of two things. One of the rules in the server, confidentiality. If anyone is discovered to be responsible for sharing anything stated here, particularly out of context screenshots, you will be banned. I'm assuming no one shared the screenshots, right? Chat. Omega Law. Isn't that? I think that's what happened. Pepe laugh.
Quickly afterwards was the Discord going on lockdown. They're worried, and they should be.
Right.
And if you thought this wasn't enough, SAG-AFTRA's website was inaccessible to anyone that didn't have a US-based IP. They're getting gradually more scared of outside influence, and when you watch this video, you'll understand why.
Right.
So without further ado, let's do
Let's
this.
get
But first,
into it.
A sponsor that doesn't have an annoying mascot in their game. Nostalgia is a funny thing. You might have grown up with video games, but they just don't hit the same anymore today. You look back at when League of Legends or World of Warcraft
what is this
first
gonna be?
launched. The excitement, the hype, the memories. But unfortunately, today, nothing hits the same. Well, you're not the only one who thinks that. That's why a team of developers got together to develop Corepunk. A game that combines elements from the OG World of Warcraft and League of Legends to create an MMORPG with PvE and PvP elements. It's still in early access, but they just released a massive update. You can now trade gear on a global marketplace with other players. A new class, the Defender, just came out wielding a sword and a shield and bringing in classic tanking capabilities with a lot of combos. And of course, you have Prison Island, a PvP and PvE survival dungeon where you try to grab as much loot as you can and escape. And this is without me mentioning the new dungeons coming soon, as well as the Battlegrounds mode that features 12 versus 12 PvP gameplay. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to click the link in the description or the pinned comment to join Corepunk Early Access today. Thank you, Corepunk, for sponsoring this video.
What do you mean?
All right, so on July 26, I'm still awake. The video game strike had begun. The main reason centered around it was AI protections for voice actors. But as we saw in my last video, the contract they want signed is pretty damn long and has way more than just AI protections. Like how, for example, they want to make it very hard to hire non-union actors, people who are not a part of SAG-AFTRA.
Right.
And if you do, you need SAG-AFTRA's direct approval, which can take a long time. And even if they give it, there's a time limit as to how much the voice actor can work for you before they are forced to join the union. Seeing that all these demands were not straightforward at all, the strike was not making much progress even 8 months after they had started. One of the games that was most affected was Genshin Impact.
Let's go, chat. I can't believe, my God, why is it Genshin Impact specific? I mean, I had a idea why I thought it was Genshin Impact specifically. I thought it was because what do you call it? I think it's because it's just such a flagship Chinese title that you would assume they would try it with them, right? At least that's my opinion. That's what I would think, because it's like, if the biggest game to come out of China were to sign this, it would be kind of huge.
You have a set schedule with set updates which have voiced story missions. And little by little, you started seeing a lot of characters being muted. But the community was fully supportive, even though their story content was not being voiced. They wanted voice actors to get what was best for them, and no one really...
Oh, fuck, that was me. That was me, chat. In case you were wondering who was one of the people who was actually supporting them with what's happening, it was me. I was one of them. In fact, not only was I one of them, how do I say this? I did it for a while. I defended them a lot. It was like multi-patch levels of me supporting them, which is why this is so why I have such a vendetta against them. Why I've taken it upon myself to do anything I can to stop any kind of union support, dude. It's because they made me look stupid.
really questioned the strike. No one really pointed out how SAG-AFTRA was fighting against AI while signing agreements with AI companies at the same time.
Yeah,
These things were not on anyone's radar until March 26, 2025, when Jacob Takanashi, a Japan-based voice actor who has nothing to do with SAG-AFTRA, took on the role of Kinich, a Genshin Impact character, from a striking voice actor who was not voicing
Nathan
the
Stokes
character
down
for
there.
months.
He's a cool dude.
This resulted in a handful of very loud and unprofessional voice actors to attack him publicly, dogpiling him, sometimes going as far as pocket watching him, saying that he had bought a house.
Man, Kaylee Mills still not recovered from this. Still doing what still doing this stuff, right? She's still she's still making a fool out of herself, Chad. I don't know. I don't know the words to say it. She's doing too much, Chad. That's probably the right way to say that.
Recently and calling that out, and other times being literally community noted. There was even one instance where a voice actor said, "Hey guys, I'm looking to recruit someone for a voice acting role, except that one."
But she apologized. What do you mean? Oh yeah, you're right. You're
so right. It was later revealed that Jacob had no idea a strike was even going on. Something that was very embarrassing for all these weird, unprofessional voice actors.
Again, shout to Nathan.
But of course, no one embarrassed themselves more than the voice actor behind Paimon.
Yeah, let's go. I can't wait.
If I had to hire someone, to destroy the reputation of a strike, I would hire Corinna.
So basically, SAG-AFTRA is a bunch of hypocrites signing with AI companies. Yeah, that's the part that I don't understand why, bro. Why would you want to sign with someone who, in their history, has sided with AI, and then you put it on us? Brother, the company doesn't like you. You know what I mean? Your union doesn't even like you. Mind you, the union did it, I think, if I'm right, I think the union signed for this kind of rights for regular actors, and they just didn't do it for voice actors. They screwed over voice actors really badly, and just no one talks about it.
Do an amazing job in this regard, posting this unhinged rant, calling everyone out and losing all community support, while also telling everyone that, oh, Paimon is still voiced actually because I'm handicapped, I need to pay medical bills. But this made everyone take a step back and think, wait, so you took on a job for money, right? So Jacob is doing it, what, for fun? He's doing it for money too!
He's doing it for
was one of many
He's doing it for the love of the game, actually.
Corinna and the other entitled voice actors
He's just doing it for fun.
Meanwhile, SAG-AFTRA, instead of denouncing this unprofessional behavior, decided to directly participate by tagging Hoya versus Games.
This post pisses me off so much. You have no idea how much this thing actually pisses me off. Genshin Impact, we English VAs would love to get back to work. I know the fans miss fearing their favorite characters, and we miss voicing them. Please negotiate with SAG-AFTRA and sign the interim agreement. Genshin Impact, blah, 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 blah. We'll make it easy for you. Here's a link to our net. Blah, blah, blah. Let's talk soon. Winky. Dude, I can't stand it.
On Twitter and telling them that they should discuss things.
The final chapter of this
incident was when Joe Zieha, a voice actor for Genshin Impact and many other things, made a video explaining the strike once and for all. And in it, around the 4-minute and 31-second mark, he said that Genshin Impact, Zenless Zones...
Man, I really appreciate this video. I'm not gonna lie, it actually gave me a lot of views.
Honkai Star Rail and any game under Hoyoverse was not in
the
any
Pikachu
way,
can't look
shape,
crazy
or
and acting like
part
it do.
Of the strike.
I
These voice actors were striking in solidarity with the strike, but this was not part of the strike to begin with. This was the final nail in the coffin, especially for the Genshin Impact community. Not only was their support waning for the cause of these voice actors, but they just realized that this was never part of the strike. They missed out on voiced characters for nothing. This realization made these voice actors that participated in this very unprofessional behavior get flooded with hate comments. No matter what they posted, their reputation was permanently tarnished.
Right.
So they all became refugees and permanently switched to Blue Sky. And that became, and I don't use this word lightly, their echo chamber. Here's why.
It really is.
Here's a voice actor who made a block list of anyone.
Sean Laraway was like, he's the one who, I think it was him. I think it was Sean Laraway was the one who said that they will still be not voicing Genshin characters.
Who disagrees with Corinna or any other entitled voice actor's opinion. If you don't know what a block list is on Blue Sky, I subscribe to this and it'll automatically block anyone who is on this list and anyone who gets added in the future. That's really funny. Thanks to
I'm
this,
surprised
the majority,
I'm not...
if not all of the entitled voice actors in question made this their main platform.
Oh, it's because it's on Blue Sky specifically. I'm not on Blue Sky. Or I am on Blue Sky. They just haven't found me yet.
In which they retweet and spout the
I
same
have like
things
4
that
followers
they
and like 4
Most of
tweets
them
on there.
Never admitted any wrongdoing. This was where we left off in the last video, but ever since then, many developments have occurred,
voices,
which led us to the
so
event.
he won't be missed. I also don't know. I don't recognize his name.
Of today, starting with a voice actor receiving threatening letters from SAG-AFTRA.
I think it's Erica.
The beloved femboy of Genshin Impact is very important.
The beloved femboy
to the story. But here's the thing. He hadn't been in any story
Twink representation, baby. Let's go.
Time. So when version 5.6 of Genshin Impact was announced
recently, question is Blue Sky a good app or something?
Were extremely excited to not really.
Again, it just has no
back
ads.
To the starting area. People's happiness was cut short though when they realized, wait, is Venti even going to be voiced? This was an important question to ask. His voice actress, Erica Harlacher-Stone, is a known SAG-AFTRA member. She's part of the union. And seeing that other union members were striking Genshin Impact and other Hoyoverse games, even though they weren't a part of the strike, people assumed that she would be doing the same thing. Until we realized
you would think so, right?
She didn't even have a choice. On Erica's TikTok, a disgruntled fan left this comment saying, you know what, we'll figure things out for you. You clearly don't give a damn about us or the game. We will be demanding a recast, and I pray to God you lose this role. You don't deserve it. To which Erica replied with, bruh, I'm trying to come back. SAG-AFTRA has been sending threatening letters to us, and it's been very complicated. I'm coming back soon. If it had been my choice, I would have been voicing.
I'm really glad that she was the one who posted something like this. Like, it made me have a newfound respect for her, for Erica. And also, you know, I crossed her name off my list. I have a list of VAs where I'm just like, you know, where I'll just make fun of them. And her name wasn't on there just yet. I just kind of went through every Genshin voice actor, except for Nathan Stokes, of course. Shout out to Nathan Stokes and Jacob Takanashi. But like, there's some VAs where they've made my list, and I know every time I see them, I'm gonna make fun of them.
The whole time,
but she is not one of them. I'm just gonna say
this goes
this
deeper
part.
than you think, and I just want to take a second here to remind you that not all voice actors are like Corinne.
I hate this image. This image is so dumb.
In fact, the majority isn't. The majority is
so
like
much,
Erica.
bro.
They just haven't said anything because they're scared of SAG-AFTRA, because then they risk getting kicked out of the union or shunned out of the industry. But Erica was having none of it. She was tired of losing opportunities, and she was tired of voice actors having their reputation get destroyed just because of a handful of very bad apples.
I get it. I absolutely get it.
Does this mean some of the other voice actors will be back in the 5.7 update? By the way, love your work. To which she said, I think so. SAG-AFTRA has been sending threatening letters, so it's been very difficult to...
I wonder who's going to come back in 5.7, because 5.7 I think is 4 days away. So that would be kind of cool to see a lot of the VAs come back.
But they were rude to me, and I'm sick of this shit, so lol. Again, doubling down on the
I'm
idea
sick
that
of
she's
this.
Receiving threatening letters from SAG, and that she's sick of this strike. The comments then continued, with her saying, thank you guys for loving Venti as much as I do. I'm so sorry the strike has sucked for everyone. We didn't even vote on it.
Oh,
that's a bombshell by itself, by the way. But hold on a second. Just for the sake of being objective here, there was a vote that was held at the end of September 2023. It was 98.32% in favor. That's how many people voted yes. However, the people who voted were only 27% of eligible voters. So the majority didn't even vote. Was that because SAG communicated this in a very bad way? It's a possibility. They usually give barely 2 to 3 days notice before an important meeting. But just keep this in mind. Erica probably knew she wasn't notified. She had no idea, which is totally valid, especially with this union. She then continues, I should probably take my own advice and shut the fuck up now, LMAO, but yeah, I'm really sorry for how dumb this has all been. So even though she's been speaking out very bravely to everyone about what's actually going on behind the scenes, she's of course still very concerned with the consequences she might face with SAG-AFTRA. They could, for example, kick her out of the union, and if she relies on union health insurance, then hey, say goodbye to that. Finally, a fan asked, hey, are you going to cover Venti's voice lines and everything you missed previously? And she said, yes, I will cover everything I missed. I'm literally so over this, LMAO. We got massively screwed over, and I just want to get back to work. So of course, everything she said so far is like listening to someone in prison asking to be let out. But it of course also makes you wonder, wait, do other voice actors also feel the same way? The situation was confusing and annoying. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was getting to the point where I was going to stop playing until the voice actors came back. Like myself, I was almost at that point until like this whole thing happened. And so at that point I was just like, nah, I'm not. I just switched everything to Chinese after that. Well, actually, yeah. At least the ones who aren't unhinged like Corinna. But bear in mind, these revelations of Erica came around the end of April, beginning of May. We're now in the beginning of June 2025. And the topic has shifted massively. It went from, oh, SAG-AFTRA's treating its voice actors like disposable toilet paper to, oh, SAG-AFTRA's literally about to make their entire profession go extinct because of how irresponsible.
I guarantee you the vote would have been no. Dude, I don't understand why they would do that without like informing people. I mean, obviously they probably sent the letter to some people who they knew were going to vote for it, because 93% is kind of wild, I'm not going to lie. You barely I don't know, was it 98, something like that? Like some wild number, that many people voted yes? I don't know.
Responsible they are. On May 5th, the Variety magazine reported video game companies released best and last offer to SAG-AFTRA addressing AI demands amid 9-month strike, exclusive. This is, of course, a very big deal. A best and last offer is exactly what it sounds like. It means the studios are saying, this is the best we can do. We are not willing to change a single thing no matter what happens. You either take it or you leave it. So many voice actors were, of course, hopeful that this is finally going to end. I mean, it's not like SAG-AFTRA has a choice. If they refuse this and studios refuse to negotiate further, there will be no new contract negotiations until 2028. It will be like shooting yourself in the foot with a shotgun. But more importantly, this best and final offer had exceeded everyone's expectations. Everyone's. And when I say everyone, I mean actual working voice actors.
Wait, what is this? Comprehensive of AI coverage? What is this? Consent required, PCA cover TV animation, film and TV, independently created digital replica. Okay, so this all looks pretty good. Digital member report must notify performer of what their DR did in writing.
Everything in green was something that SAG-AFTRA was asking for, and it was granted. Everything in red is not granted, and everything in yellow is negotiable on a case-by-case basis. So one contract may have them, another one may not.
Consent
it's not
during
outright
strike.
refused like what's in the red. As you can see, this is a whole lot of green. It's actually very impressive.
Dude, everything's on here.
Because of this, many voice actors were thinking, finally, like, this is it, right? We can finally, after 10 months of striking, get back to work and earn some money, right? Well, no. The voice actor behind Capitano and Genshin Impact and many other anime characters in anime dubs tweeted this out a few weeks after this final offer was presented, saying all of SAG-AFTRA membership got to vote on the interactive strike authorization. And now, even after receiving the last, best, and final offer, SAG is saying they are still negotiating. No, you aren't. It's done. The deal is good. Now let us vote to end the strike. Someone replied,
wow, chat, we're gonna give you 95% of what you're asking for. Are you gonna take that deal? No. What do you mean, no? Brother, what more do you want? You can't get 100% in this life. Not for voting, not for anything. You gotta give a little wiggle room somewhere. I just don't understand, bro. You're not gonna get 100%. That's just kind of, how do I say this? That's just kind of, that's like having an ego about it. Chat. Like, they just need it. Why did they not just do it? Why did they take it, bro?
With, they really don't want to make life easier.
I'm gonna crash
to which
out.
This voice actor replied with, yes, and not real sure why at this point. We can't negotiate anymore. It's either this or no more union AAA video games. And he is not exaggerating in any way. If this doesn't work and they have to wait till 2028 to renegotiate, there will be no more unions for big budget video games in regards to anything performance related. So voice acting, motion capture, you name it. But all of this doesn't add up at all. In 2023, there was the Hollywood actors strike by SAG-AFTRA, and after 118 days of striking, when they received a proposal from
you hear how the skunk VA wanted to voice a trailer but couldn't? Yes, that's who that was. I think it's Kat, right? Is that her name? Who was like, I think Kat was like, I really wanted to voice this or something. I think I saw that tweet. I believe I did see that. Yeah, dude, that's so sad, bro. Like, you get cast for this character that everyone wants to see and you can't voice it, bro. I feel for these voice actors who really want to get to work, because it's not like all these voice actors are like, no, I don't want to work. Like, bro, some of these people really love these games and we love them. Like, us as players, like, of course I'm a Genshin player. Like, we love these voice actors.
Studios they were
That's
striking
so
against,
sad.
they held a vote with 78% of members voting in favor of taking the contract. On the other hand, 22% voted no, and there were some very heavy criticisms to accepting the agreement a bit too early. But hey, that's what a union is. You vote on your rights because everyone has a say. Hell, the same day the voice actor of Capitano made his tweet, SAG-AFTRA had held a vote for people who are in audio commercials, and they were able to approve their contract with a vote of 96.9% saying yes and 3.1% saying no.
Nice.
So how is it exactly that every other facet of SAG-AFTRA could vote when they get an actual...
I say this when I mean this. The VAs need to break off and make their own union. There's no way this is the best union for them. Like, really, bro. There's just no way.
counteroffer, but voice actors are not being given that
You
right,
might as well
is
just go
a
off on your own and
fundamental
try to
right
make
of
it
a
on your
union.
own.
Like, you have to understand, there are voice actors who haven't worked for over 10 months because of this strike. They, just like Erica, would receive a threatening letter if they were to work on video games.
So
More
dumb.
specifically, ones that don't have this new contract that most haven't accepted. So this isn't just about the existential threat of voice acting as a whole in the United States, but it's about people who are literally on the brink of being homeless, needing a job. So seeing that things have gotten so bad that SAG-AFTRA finally decide to hold a vote and have their members decide what to do next?
Nice.
No. You know what they did instead?
It.
They held a Q&A on Instagram Live. Fucking hell. Yep, that's right. It featured the SAG-AFTRA Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Committee Chair, Sarah El-Maleh, and Chief Negotiator Duncan Crabtree Ireland, who also served as Chief Negotiator for the Hollywood strike back in 2023. This was all in an effort to discuss and answer questions about
He's really bad at that, apparently.
And the strike.
Or he's really good, I can't tell.
Some people who were panicking about the fact that their profession might get deleted tomorrow. And as you might have guessed, this was an utter disaster that was extremely tone deaf and really showed us that the people who are doing this are not doing it in the best interest of voice actors. They couldn't care less. This live Q&A was from the 28th of May, and someone uploaded the whole thing on Vimeo. One of the biggest concerns from voice actors is the fact that their jobs are literally being replaced by overseas actors, especially in the UK. That question was asked, and here's how they answered it. As you listen to this, think of yourself as a voice actor who hasn't worked in 10 months. Is it comforting? Let's see.
Go ahead.
Next question. We've heard that at least 8 AAA union games have exited the union since the beginning of May. What steps are you taking to prevent the union from losing more jobs? Well, I'll start on this, and then Sarah can weigh in if she wants to.
Go ahead.
I have heard from certain back-channel sources about some games that have either threatened to or started casting, for example,
Let's hear it.
outside the United States or with non-union workers.
Hit me with it.
The fact of the matter is that it is possible for some of these games to shift to casting and production outside the U.S. As far as producing in the U.S., if there are signatory producers who are doing games non-union, then you can expect us to take legal action to address that, because they're not entitled to do that.
If I were a voice actor who just heard that, I'm going homeless. That's all I heard. I'm going home. I'm gonna be homeless. I just got screwed. They just Montreal'd me. They just Bret Harted me in Montreal, bro. They just did a classic WWE Montreal screw job on me. Apparently, Honorable Chino VA was absent, so they couldn't dub it, but Skirk and Child VA wanted to voice it and are still down to record it. That's good that, God, what's his name? Is it Griffin Burns? Still wants to voice Child. That's good.
I think the most important
I'm glad. He's been voicing him for such a long time.
Is looking to try and reach an agreement. But reaching an agreement doesn't involve just capitulating to the employer position. I'll remind everybody that there was a point not too long ago where there were some people who said that we should just accept buyouts as part of the deal and make that deal. And right now, the last best and final that was put on the table with us does not include those buyouts because we pushed back on it. So I think that it's more nuanced than just.
I would be going homeless. That's what I'm hearing.
And that's why
I'm not getting job.
Engaged and
hey, take our
dibs. Group in the hopes of reaching a deal quickly. That would obviously be the best.
Damn those European voice actors! They took our dibs.
That production resumes and continues quickly.
Yeah, so if I had to give an example to someone as to what corporate speak sounds like, absolute corporate mumbo jumbo, I would just use this clip as an example.
They didn't even give an answer.
Worry, Sarah will echo the same thing. It's like, hey, we're being replaced by people overseas. Can we get a move on? Yeah, but this is really about the agreement, and we'll take our time examining the agreement, and we'll get back to you, and hopefully.
Sounds like a rat, dude. I sound like he didn't say a single word.
Come on, dude, get to the point. I'm about to be homeless. And just so you're aware, this guy right here on the left, Duncan, he makes over $1 million a year working for SAG-AFTRA.
Dude, I want $1 million a year
Sarah,
working.
On the other hand,
in
also
general.
works for SAG. I'm sure her salary is amazing, and even if it wasn't, she doesn't have to worry about not being able to find a job. As a voice actor who hasn't worked for 10 months, who's literally struggling to make ends meet, hearing these two talk about this must feel like the most out-of-touch thing ever. How can he sit here and so confidently say we're going to keep the strike going without taking in any points of feedback while you make $1 million a year? It just doesn't really feel right. It feels weird. You can see some comments here saying 12 gaming companies have already left.
I think he said some weird. He made some weird comments too, didn't he? Didn't he say something like voice actors who aren't in the union are like lower quality or something. I guess I guess he doesn't feel like that now, does he?
Let's please end this soon so more don't leave. 500 roles that could have gone to SAG actors. And
500 roles. Oh no, brother. That's so bad.
Another person says let the actors vote. Another one says let the actors vote.
And then the person after that's going to say let the actors vote.
SAG and then the person before that said Instagram showing what they want changed in the last best and final offer. There are 3 essential items here, right? And the first one, the most important one that they really want to show you first here in the slideshow is that they don't like companies generating new materials with replicas during a strike. Just so you know, AI replicas are actually part of this contract. Voice actors are allowed to consent if they're getting paid for it. So this right here really bothers SAG-AFTRA because it takes away power from them when they're striking. In fact, during the end of the Q&A, you can hear the pain in the voices of these two people when someone has a question about Side Letter 6 projects. Here's how the Coalition of Dubbing Actors explains this. Remember this name because they will be very important later on. But in a nutshell, they say, it's a serious flaw in the SAG-AFTRA video game contract that allows projects that have begun production before a strike was called to continue without disruption. This coalition then says, we strongly urge all actors to avoid auditioning for and working on SL6 projects. But here's the thing, this is in the contract. And it wasn't talked about enough when the entitled voice actors were losing their minds on Twitter. So SAG really don't want another SL6 situation because it gives them less power during strikes, and they're willing to sacrifice this current strike just to hear back on this. Reason 2, which is fair dispute resolution, and reason 3, which is close the loophole. You can read these for yourself, but these 3
I'm probably not going to understand
why
these.
The strike is still ongoing and why they're risking everything. But most voice actors are already very happy with this right here. Everything that's in green that we already discussed, these 3 things aren't that big of a deal for them. That's
and it's all, it's like so much green too.
A year, you might not be able to see that. Anyway, during this Q&A, Mr. $1 Million here had this to say about a question. Watch.
But I just want to say, whether you agree with or disagree with the committee or any individual member of the committee or whatever, this committee, these members have devoted a vast amount of their personal lives to fighting for this contract.
Yeah.
And they've done it not because it's their paid job to do it or for any other reason than because they care about helping make sure that our members are protected and that this contract is the contract that members deserve. And that we should get head out So I just want to say to
all right, better have a good one, bro.
You know, it's totally great to agree or disagree with the committee. You know, this is a union where we welcome differences of opinion.
I don't think you do. I'm going to be honest. I don't think they do welcome differences of opinion.
Commitment and contribution that your committee members have made on your behalf as part of doing this process.
You hear that? It is okay, even welcomed, to disagree with a committee currently negotiating this
Wow, are you sure? That's so crazy.
Members. Very beautiful. I mean, SAG-AFTRA is a democracy after all, right? Well, no, not really. The negotiating committee has its own agenda, and they're not willing to listen to anyone who doesn't share their own opinions. As we're about to find out in numerous conversations.
Oh, I can't wait for these conversations. I've been so hyped to see these.
All right, so remember
I've been super
hyped
to see
these. Otherwise known as CODA?
Yeah.
According to their website, they have spent decades creating quality voice acting to localize amazing foreign projects so that they can be experienced and enjoyed by audiences across the world.
Okay.
That's wonderful. But if you were to join their private Discord server, you would never guess that that's what they do. No,
it's from them?
It's some sort of radicalization pipeline that's meant to make you think that this strike can go on forever. This server has hundreds of members, mostly people who are new, but many who are in SAG-AFTRA as union members. Here you'll see many messages from people on the negotiating committee, as well as people who are also present on Blue Sky and who spend a lot of time pushing the same ideas there. Starting us off, here's a message from a high-ranking negotiating committee member, garnering a lot of reactions from people in the server. Here's what they had to say very shortly after receiving the last best and final offer. They've given a last best offer. Next may come a last best and final offer. Next, they may try to walk away. The selfish elites will claim they can leave forever because they don't believe we are worth anything. Disney and Warner Bros can do that. They don't make games, they just license them. Formosa and Blindlight, which are recording studios, will be in danger of going out of business, which is why VoiceWorks broke away and why Blindlight just found a way to get a game on the to be announced without having to sign themselves. Insomniac and the other plot-driven studios will finish their SL6 games and then be faced with asking actors to scab. Voice actors like Jen and Troy will likely do that out of spite and selfishness, but the studio's reputations will suffer and they will lose access to their on-camera celebrities. I just want to point out, this is a negotiating committee member calling out 2 very well-known voice actors in the industry.
Troy Baker? No way.
They continue. Call of Duty, Fortnite.
Dude, not my man's Troy Baker. I'm actually a big fan of Troy Baker. I'm not gonna lie. He's a really, really good voice actor. He's one of the best, actually.
All of the purely celebrity-driven content will have to come back. They've built their business model on it, and on-camera celebrities are not going to work non-union during a strike. So we may have to see how long they will hold out while we continue to make money with the interim. We will likely update the interim with new understanding of the tech in the next few months to lure in more games, and we'll see who wins. That is my best logic-driven approach without the fear-mongering weighted in. So yeah, this feels like a motivational talk to people who are worried about losing their jobs, while calling out two very well-known voice actors by name, as well as saying a very funny sentence here: we will continue to make money with the interim, referring to the studios who've already signed the interim agreement. It's funny to me because voice acting in video games pays like nothing, and these roles in particular with the new interim agreement are very far and few in between. But you have to remember, even though there's hundreds of people in this Discord, many of them are new voice actors, ones that are up and coming, and they might be a bit naive. Right. We have a negotiating committee member here telling you all these things. They must be right. They're a veteran. In fact, in this one's particular case, they used to be a board member of SAG-AFTRA. Who am I talking about?
There it is.
Well, meet Zeke Alton. But before we do, we need to talk about the AI voice acting company by the name of Ethovox, the only premium voice service created by actors and empowered by AI. They claim to be an AI company that is ethically sourced. Interestingly enough, SAG-AFTRA signed an agreement with Ethovox on October 30th, 2024, a few months after this video game strike had even begun. But you know what's the most interesting part of all this? Right. Zeke used to be on the board of Ethovox. And as his description says, he's a professional voice actor, NAVA advisory board member, and former SAG-AFTRA board member. And now he's back at SAG-AFTRA as one of the members of the negotiating committee for the strike. Right. Even posting official information directly from SAG-AFTRA in channels like Strike Talk Official. My source actually tells me that Zeke isn't just back to be a negotiating committee for SAG, he's actually back to be a full-time board member at SAG-AFTRA. This of course only makes him and the union look worse. Another name you'll see a lot in these conversations is Kyle McCarley. He is not
I think the video has already been updated, because you see a lot of the names have already been like crossed out and stuff like that.
On the negotiating committee.
I opened Twitter and Jacob voice Matt Pat. I googled so hard. Wait, like in his dubbed Japanese videos or something?
But he is someone who shares Zeke's views almost one-to-one. This can be seen on his Blue Sky account, with his profile picture being the SAG-AFTRA on strike icon, and dedicating almost his entire feed to the strike, even being retweeted many times
they do that
by
a lot.
Our friend Corinna. This message right here gives us kind of a glimpse of the mentality Kyle, Zeke, and many others in this Discord have when he said, and I'm still sitting here thinking, blow the whole contract up. They don't want to give us what we want? Let him walk. Kill the deal entirely. Interim becomes the new IMA, and when they inevitably come crawling back to us, they give us the terms we should have gotten from them 10 months ago.
Yeah, no. Nope. I can't imagine they would do that. That doesn't sound right.
But it doesn't work like that. I mean, not easily anyway. So yeah, of course, this can be seen as a lighthearted message. Right. But the tone here doesn't really change in the next messages either. And it's this idea that they hold all the cards, that the studios need them more than they could ever need the studios, when that is not the case.
No,
many jobs are being lost as we speak to overseas actors, and this is a very irresponsible thing to think, even as a joke in such a serious setting. Here we can see a voice actor asking a question and tagging Zeke, saying, could I have a suspicion confirmed? If someone is FICOR and advertising/working on non-union work during a strike, that can affect their ability to work union in the future, right? Now, just as a reminder, being FICOR means that you're kind of part of SAG-AFTRA, but you're just giving up all the benefits of being union in order to work non-union work without consequences. And even though you're technically under SAG-AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA sees you as a scab, which is wonderful, but you can still qualify for health insurance if you're working union projects. So the whole point of becoming FICOR is to be able to work non-union work even during a strike. But this voice actor is wondering, does this affect their ability to work union jobs in the future? Because they can work both, union and non-union. Zeke says it would be considered scabbing and they would never be allowed back into the union. The union cannot prevent a company from hiring them in the future, but union developers have been asking for lists of people not to hire. Let me just repeat that one more time. Union developers have been asking for lists of people not to hire. He continues, of course.
And there it is, chat. There's the smoking gun. These people are they say that they don't have a click. This is not a whole click thing, but there's a click right there. There it is right there. I hate that these people like try to deny what they do, right? That's like the most obnoxious part about it.
That's illegal and unrealistic, but it's a small community. We're all responsible for our actions, and flaunting a strike is more serious than I think some performers understand. They'll be severely limiting their career opportunities in the future to only the kind of games that are actively looking to gather up actors' digital identities. So look, when you become FICOR, okay, SAG-AFTRA tries to stop you multiple times. It's like asking a bank to withdraw $1 million cash. They'll try to stop you multiple times because they don't have the money. They gotta get it from the vault. And usually when you become FICOR, it's already almost impossible to become union again. This message from Zeke signals that yes, I mean, they're doing what they signed up for. They're FICOR. They can work non-union jobs even during a strike. But there might be some consequences, even though it's not written in the contract. Like, admitting this is crazy. The fact that there are union developers hoping to get a list of people not to hire. Now, of course, he does say it's illegal and unrealistic, but I mean, then he says, but it's a small community. I can't conclude anything from this, but I do have a feeling that maybe, just maybe, if you sign up to be FICOR to work non-union jobs during a strike, then you might get discriminated against.
They're not saying you're gonna be on a list to not be hired. They're just saying, we're taking note of who's signed up for that. That's all they're saying. They're not legally stopping you from getting hired. They're just... Chat, they're just writing your name on a blank piece of paper. What's so wrong about that?
When it comes to taking on union jobs in the future, which is kind of crazy. A voice actor chimes in and says, I mean, I would assume it's the same rules as pre-strike. If you're non-union, you're free to work whatever you want. To which Kyle says, if you're not a member, you are not beholden to any union rules, including strike rules.
Right.
However, working non-union during a strike does undermine its efforts every bit as much as promoting that work does. The reason to withhold that work or not promote it is to stand in solidarity with your fellow actors, but nothing requires you to do so, other than the very slim potential for jeopardizing your future membership if that's something you want to pursue.
I don't know, you assholes. That would be my idea. Not my idea, that would be my mindset, right, chat? Who are you? I don't know half you people. Yet you want me to stand in solidarity with you. Bro, I don't know you. We're not boys like that. You were never on the block with me, bro. And you want me to stand in solidarity with you? That's crazy. That is crazy. Now that is wild.
Someday. So Kyle comes in, mostly agrees with Zeke, but does so in a more level-headed way.
Although I will say, if it is like for an actual good cause, then yes, absolutely. Stand in solidarity. This, on the other hand, we know... We have the power of hindsight, right? We know hindsight is 2020. We do know that now that this is like a corrupt thing. So as of now going forward, I would never stand in solidarity with any voice actor.
With no mention
they could stand in solidarity with my nuts.
There's a very slim potential chance of you not being able to join SAG.
SAG can have this nut, and AFTRA can have this nut.
By the way, because you're not
union. And they can both hold them together.
Why should a strike even matter to you? Zeke then comes in again and says it can be considered scabbing. If the union is actively working to flip a game like Genshin, an actor working non-union would be in violation. Also, if the non-union games turns out to be one that was previously union and the producer pulled a fast one, it can still be considered scabbing under the current strike order. The only thing the union can do is to note it and tag you as someone who is never allowed to join in the future.
That's really funny.
So Zeke comes in again, undoes everything Kyle said, okay, like that level-headed response, down the toilet, and reiterates,
nice.
Guys, if you work a non-union job during a strike, you'll never be able to join SAG in the future.
Good.
And also, if you're non-union working on a game like Genshin Impact, also, you're in violation. This is actually really funny to me because according to Zeke...
This kind of makes sense as to why people would try to stand or try to like be misinformed for the union, because these guys are not even giving their actors a straight answer, right? Like, this is so dumb, bro. Funny how they do this BS when they get caught. I want to act like they didn't do anything and hide it on defend it. Cough, cough. Jane Doe, Yao. Yon's VA before they deleted her tweet.
Karina.
Wait, Jane Doe tweeted? No way.
Voice actor behind Paimon is someone who is never allowed to join SAG-AFTRA again because they voiced Paimon for months during the strike as a FICOR member.
Oh no, but I bet Paimon gets a slide.
SAG-AFTRA, seeing that it's an amazing, very fair organization.
I'm sure Paimon gets a slide.
Let's get back to Erica. When she complained to her fans that she was receiving threatening letters from SAG and that she really wanted to get back to this, the fact that she didn't even vote for the strike to begin, the Coda Discord took notice. Here's what they had to say. A voice actor by the name of Marin M. Miller said, "It's very sad that Erica has failed to meet this moment in a way that supports the people around her." Oh, someone above said, "Right, that's because they're composing acting industry fan fiction. It doesn't have to make sense." Kyle McCarley said, "Single most damaging thing any one person has done to the strike efforts, in my opinion." Can we just read that again?
You know what's really funny? Why bro, please come to reality. That's all we're asking. Bro, it's not Erica. It was actually Paimon. It was actually Kaylee Mills and Paimon and everyone else. We have the screenshots. They were the people who single-handedly, on that day, destroyed the union strike. When they came after Jacob Takanashi. That was it. It was literally right there. That was it. That was where it all went crumbling down. Paimon gets to slide because she can leverage most of the voice character. I can see that, yeah. Yep, she defended the Discord till she got called out on Twitter and Reddit because she deleted the tweet. I'm going to look that up after.
Single most damaging thing any one
I
person
gotta
has
find
done
that.
to the
I
strike
believe you,
efforts,
Spirit, but
in
I just
my
want to see it
opinion.
for myself.
Really? I mean, I think you're insulting Corinna right now by saying this. Really? Erica, really? This video right here literally ended the strike, okay? This video right here ruined.
To be fair, yes and no-ish, question mark. Because this didn't come out around the time they came after Jacob Takanashi. This actually came out before, and I think she was talking about, not Doro, Darkos, I believe, question mark. Put a pin in that. He might talk about it later.
Voice acting reputation for generations, and you're going to blame Erica.
But this does do a lot, yeah.
Then another member of the negotiating committee chimes in, Lindsay. She says, "We're just trying to fight for AI protections, something that can't be done on an individual level. When Mihoyo makes a digital replica of her character and never hires her again, she's going to wish she had a horde of union lawyers to go after them." So look, these messages can be interpreted in a million.
I don't think they know how like scary the CCP is.
Different ways. All I'll say is that it's a shame. The fact that one of their colleagues for the last 10 months has not been able to voice a role they enjoy so much that means a lot to them, while being under the threat of being replaced, sucks. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It sucks to be in Erica's
It just
shoes.
sucks, bro.
And I'm not seeing one message here
Shout
that
to
is
Erica.
showing empathy. It's also ridiculous to me how they chose to, on purpose, right, blind themselves from the entitled voice actors from my last video. Yet people openly blacklisting Jacob, calling him out, tweeting about his finances, and publicly blacklisting him from projects. And these people are convinced that Erica venting about the fact that she can't work on a character she loves due to this strike is the single most damaging thing any person has done to the strike efforts. That's crazy to me.
Funny,
it's further proof that we're really in an echo chamber, and that if someone agrees with you, they can do no wrong. But anyway, we're now back to the message that I showed you at the beginning of the video.
Like
yes,
when
the
your
person who
gets
sent
hacked,
it was
that's
Zeke
true, yeah.
talking about how some
Wait, what is it?
outside parties have engaged in a campaign to influence performers, and we need to address it.
We're in the middle of a bargaining session, but some outside parties are engaged in a campaign. Please look for a link from SAG-AFTRA in the morning.
Why is he saying that? What does he even mean? Well, at some point, Zeke said, SL6 Elder Scrolls is sending out auditions again. Let's all tell Blindlight to F off. So Blindlight isn't a developer. It's a Los Angeles-based company providing Hollywood production services to the video game industry. So the Elder Scrolls 6 hires them to do the recording for them. Kind of like how Genshin Impact hires studios in the US to do recording for them. They're not directly involved. The Elder Scrolls is an SL6 project. It started before the strike. It's perfectly legal within SAG-AFTRA contract terms to work them without any repercussions, without being a scab. But Zeke's over here saying, let's tell them to F off, even though it's perfectly legal to take it. A while later, Zeke says, with all the angry rhetoric about how employers are going to walk away from us and the fear tactics used to get people to accept a bad deal, today, Blindlight put out an audition for a game under the tiered budget agreement. Let me say that again for the cheap seats. Blindlight has agreed to put out a game with our AI protections. Tell me again what these companies won't do. So look, I'm very happy for them, but this isn't the interim agreement. It's the tiered budget independent interactive media agreement. Employers who still want to sign voice actors during the strike must either use this contract or the interim agreement. And the reason why this contract exists is because it allows studios with less budget to pay voice actors less. And if they have a bigger budget, they have to pay voice actors more. But yeah, although minimal, it does have clauses for artificial intelligence, as Zeke said. One important thing to keep in mind, though, is that the cutoff date to being able to use this contract is in 2026, which makes it that much more important for SAG to finish negotiations. Otherwise, even this beloved contract of Zeke will not be applicable anymore. However, what we need to understand here is that this is just one game, not all games moving forward. But it also doesn't really make much sense to me. When voice actors were having a meltdown on Twitter, they were told, hey, listen, the studios that Genshin Impact is hiring have AI protections built into their contracts. They said, no, this is not enough. Genshin Impact, the studio has to sign the interim agreement, otherwise we're not happy. So in the case of Elder Scrolls 6, doesn't Bethesda have to sign the agreement, not Blindlight? And in this case, doesn't that mean the studio hiring Blindlight has signed the tiered budget agreement? Doesn't really make much sense, right? I mean,
of course not.
Things in the strike barely do. But what I really want you to see is the messages that come afterwards.
Oh, yes.
The voice
Hit
actor
me
says,
with it.
also, to be honest, I would rather have no deal and have the producers walk away and go non-union or elsewhere than to have a deal, because at least then we would be covered by the law. So I'd rather call their bluff. To which Zeke says, I hope enough people show up and express that, because we expect a wave of take the deal votes. Okay, let's just take a step back here, all right? This is someone who is a complete extremist saying, I'd rather have no work at all if it means that I can't work under a union contract. Something that most voice actors who are already financially suffering after 10 months of no work would completely disagree with. And then you have someone on the negotiating committee saying, I hope enough people show up and express that, because we expect a wave of take the deal votes. This is a negotiating committee member openly saying that they don't want people to vote yes on taking the deal if they ever hold a vote on the final, last, and best offer. This is a clear agenda as a member of the negotiating committee, but it actually gets way worse when you really think about it. So remember how only 27% of eligible voters actually voted in favor of starting the video game strike? This totaled around 34,687 members. We have a negotiating committee member out here trying to influence hundreds of people to vote no to the next vote regarding the final, last, and best offer. If that's not vote manipulation, I don't know what is. And that is extremely weird. Do you understand why this is ridiculous? Why I'm making this video? You are a negotiator. You try to get the best deal. And then when the vote comes in, you shut your mouth and you let your union members decide what's best for them. But here we see that there's a very clear agenda, and it's alarming. This catastrophe doesn't end here, though. After Joe had released his video explaining the best video ever, let's go! The Discord had a lot to say about it. A voice actor posted the video saying, welp, Joe made a video, to which Carly replied with, barely scratched the surface of this, but I don't like him saying that Hoyo isn't struck, referring to Hoyoverse games like Genshin Impact, and Zone Zero, and
reminded me, Sean. Yeah, I talked about it at the beginning of the video that Sean Laraway was saying that they are still going to be striking the game regardless, and it's like, knowing that it's illegal, oh, please do, bro. I pray you guys just get, like, what do you call it? Replaced. Then continues and says, I do love the part where he breaks down the fact that a union agreement would end their work stoppage, that they absolutely have the resources to do so, and that many cast members would have qualified for healthcare on Genshin alone. Because he further explains, the issue I have with that definition is largely one of semantics, but union members are striking the entire video game industry. We're not striking specific companies, we're striking every game that hasn't signed an interim, with the unfortunately necessary legal exception for side letter 6. And I don't like that he kicks off a 30-minute video with, the strike doesn't apply to Hoyo, because yes, it does. And if anyone chooses to tune out early, they're gonna miss all the explaining he does. Zeke then says it's not all accurate, but there's more good than bad there. So again, there's a lot of new, young. Wait, what does this say? What does this person Gale say? True. That is true depending on the individual with a loud it's just something else.
Joining this Discord. And it really does make me think, are Kyle and Zeke intentionally misleading them, or can they really not read one simple article from SAG-AFTRA themselves? When the strike started on July 26, 2024, SAG-AFTRA very specifically said, the 10 companies facing the strike are Activision Productions Inc., Blindlight LLC, Disney.
I think the worst part too is trying to like talk about this on TikTok, which I have tried to do, but like there are people who keep telling me that they're like, oh, they're not striking Genshin, they're striking Formosa. Bro, they haven't been signed to Formosa since like the beginning of the year. And that's just what we know about publicly, by the way. They may have left like a long time ago.
Character Voices Inc., Electronic Arts Productions Inc., Epic Games Inc., Formosa Interactive LLC,
there it is, Formosa.
Insomniac Games Inc., Take-Two Productions Inc., VoiceWorks Productions Inc., and Warner Bros. Games Inc. There was no mention of an industry-wide strike. There was no mention of a contract strike.
And for Formosa, it wasn't even for Genshin. It was like for League of Legends or something. I had to look it up myself.
They're negotiating the last, best, and final offer with a coalition formed by these 10 companies. Now, I don't know if Kyle is misinformed or maybe spent too much time on Blue Sky, but this has never been
I bet that's probably what it is. Nothing good comes from Blue Sky, except for like making fun of voice actors. That one's always great.
Studios, period. You can even see this on SAG-AFTRA's own website. I had to use a VPN to access this. On October 15th, 2024, they had made an update. And again, they said the convenience bargaining group includes Activision, Blindlight, etc. No mention of Genshin, no mention of an industry-wide strike, none of that. These people are role-playing. They think they're the main character or something. And that's what's so dangerous about it.
I think that's the worst part is that like a bunch of these voice actors are like they act like theater kids, bro. And it's so obnoxious. They really try to make themselves more important than they really are. And I don't understand why.
Now, of course,
just go to work, bro. Just put the fries in the bag. Just put the voice lines in the game.
If I were to give them the benefit of the doubt, I'd say, oh, they're a very passionate bunch who truly think that they're fighting for their own rights. And you know what? I hope they get those rights, but they're doing it in such an irresponsible way while disregarding tens of thousands of performers and voice actors in the video game industry. Not to mention that some people like Zeke, who are on the negotiating committee, are very irresponsible with how they share information and how they're so openly trying to manipulate the vote. I mean, there's no other way to say this. There's no benefit of the doubt here. He was literally calling on people to vote no. All while people are out there losing their jobs, unable to pay rent, unable to afford anything because they're thinking they're striking for the betterment of their own industry, when in reality, it's being handled by a bunch of irresponsible, entitled voice actors who are threatening to ruin everything.
You know what's funny? This is like trying to take out $100 from your bank account, and instead of going in and just using the ATM or just going up to the clerk and asking and like showing them your information and be like, hey, I'd like to take out this money from my bank account. Instead, let's just go and rob the place. Surely this will work better, right? I think this will probably yield us the $100 that I need from my bank account. Surely, right? That's how that works?
Innocent, reasonable voice actors are being hurt here, and they're getting very tired of this. After that disastrous Instagram livestream, Capitano's voice actor quote-tweeted his last tweet and said, since receiving the last best final offer, SAG's only update to membership was a half-hour IG live for the public. Members weren't even
I don't know why last best final offer sounds really, really funny to me. The Super Omega chocolatey super choice.
Emailed. Where do we now stand, SAG-AFTRA?
Really
we are now heading towards an impasse that will kill all union video games. Paying members deserve the right to vote. He was getting tired of this, and he wasn't the only one who spoke up.
Whatever the hell his last name is.
The voice actress behind Ambi from Zenless Zone Zero and Topaz from Honkai Star Rail, as well as many other roles, hadn't once made a statement about the strike until now. She said, I've been careful to not say too much during the strike because I'm frankly exhausted with how actors are treating each other and I don't want to deal with it. But this is about more than just
someone needs to make a Civil
War
War
non-union jobs are leaving, and we'd be lucky if they came back. I support the strike's core purpose to establish a contract for union work based on consent and compensation that will influence non-union work in the future. I've read the damn offer we have right now. Other actors have read it. Other lawyers have read it. We have what we asked for. And we're risking it all on loopholes that we don't trust the SAG lawyers we insist are our protectors to protect us if an employer plays dirty. Employers can play dirty in non-union work too, and that's a risk many of us take every day. Last time I checked, SAG animation, dubbing, and all of the non-union work floating around doesn't have protections anywhere close to the deal that we have. The commercial contract just got their contract. If the bargaining partners walk, their new projects will be non-union, and we're back to square one, with whatever protections we can scavenge from existing contracts like SL6 games, and crossing our fingers that the newly non-union contracts don't play dirty, except we won't have SAG lawyers on our side to protect us. I can't vote or attend meetings because I'm FICOR, but please, I beg our voting members to urge our negotiating committee and leadership to not prolong the strike. It's not about us anymore. Recording engineers, directors, production teams, entire studios, those are jobs that will leave and are leaving that may never come back. There are talented voice actors around the world, and it's silly to think the US is the only source of talent these games want. Please let everyone get back to work. She also
God, dude, it's so funny, bro. How do you fumble such a generational, like, there will never be another Hoyoverse, and they signed their company to Side Studio, and you let that happen just because of this, bro. It's so wild.
Clarifies things further, emphasizing that this post isn't about Hoyo
Which
games,
side is like, I think more European sided, like more worldwide voice
drama.
actors.
I'm also not a union member, so please don't refer to me as one. It wouldn't be fair to my union colleagues. Also, if this thread ends up in a video covering the strike or whatever, hi YouTube.
Hi Sam.
Hey Sam, glad to see that you're a good sport. It's very
I'm a big fan. I really like Anby.
In the last video. The last thing she said was, but Sam, where's your source on games leaving? Gestures to everything. Sam, how do you know they'll go non-union if they walk? To which he says, when a contract expires, the parties are no longer beholden to it. They will have zero obligation to sign another if they don't want to. So yeah, this is getting so bad that it's forced people like Sam, who are FICOR, or hell, some non-union actors too, to speak up about this. Pressure was mounting, not just from consumers, but performers too. So SAG-AFTRA all of a sudden on June 7th said, hey, we're doing a meeting on June 9th. You can join IRL or through Zoom. Voice actors were finally hoping to be able to hold a vote so that they can finally express what they think. What ended up happening though was completely unexpected and came out of nowhere, leaving them even more confused. Some didn't even know whether to celebrate or be worried. According to my source, during the Zoom meeting, SAG-AFTRA leadership spent a long time ass-kissing their performers, thanking them for their efforts during the strike. And then, as everyone was expecting some sort of a vote, SAG-AFTRA leadership announces that, hey guys, don't worry, a tentative agreement has been reached with the studios. The strike will be ending soon. Now, of course, most people were very relieved to hear this.
Nice.
Many went into this meeting fully expecting SAG-AFTRA to delay the strike again. So this is definitely a step in the right direction, thanks to many voice actors complaining to SAG about them delaying it this long. But this doesn't mean that things are truly back to normal.
Damn it.
There's still work
Son
to be
of
done,
a bitch.
and things can still go wrong. Shortly after this meeting, SAG-AFTRA tweeted out, "We have reached a tentative agreement with the video game bargaining group, which includes some of the largest video game companies in the world, and we are hopeful that our video game strike will be suspended in the coming days," linking a post on their website. Now look, before we get to that post, I want to point out that a lot of people were celebrating this, and I get why. I mean, listen, I want voice actors to get the rights they deserve too. But this was never about voice actors, this was always about SAG-AFTRA for me. And I wasn't the only one. Many were wondering, okay, well, struck games are now going to be voiced again, probably, if this tentative agreement gets
surely Genshin's gonna be voiced again, right? Totally.
Finalized. But what about non-struck games that were affected by the strike, like any game under Hoyoverse, among others, like for example, Destiny 2? And that's definitely a concern here. So let's take a look at what SAG-AFTRA had to say about this in their post on their website. The title is, SAG-AFTRA and video game employers reach tentative agreement on interactive media contract, National Board to review. They then say, SAG-AFTRA and the signatory video game companies, which include Activision, Blindlight, Disney Character Voices, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, Formosa Interactive, Insomniac Games, Take-Two Productions, and Warner Brother Games, have reached a tentative agreement on terms for the interactive media contract, subject to review and approval by the National Board and ratification by the membership in the coming weeks. Specific details of the agreement will be released with the ratification materials. It is expected the terms of a strike suspension agreement will be finalized with employers soon. Until such agreement is reached, however, SAG-AFTRA members will remain on strike against these employers. SAG-AFTRA National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator Duncan Crabtree Ireland said, "Everyone at SAG-AFTRA is immensely grateful for the sacrifices made by video game performers and the dedication of the Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Committee throughout these many months of the video game strike. Patience and persistence has resulted in a deal that puts in place the necessary AI guardrails that defend performers' livelihoods in the AI age alongside other important gains. Thank you, Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Chair Sarah Al-Maleh and Chief Contracts Officer Ray Rodriguez for your hard work and advocacy in pursuit of this contract." SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher stated, "Our video game performers stood strong against the biggest employers in one of the world's most lucrative industries. Their incredible courage and persistence, combined with the tireless work of our negotiating committee, has at last secured a deal. The needle has been moved forward and we are much better off than before. As soon..."
There's gonna be like a but at the end of this, isn't there?
"As this is ratified,
there's no way this is just like straight, like you guys did it.
Every contract is a work in progress, and progress is the name of the game." SAG-AFTRA members have been on strike against video game employers since July 26, 2024. Prior to that, SAG-AFTRA members approved the video game strike authorization in September 2023 with a 98.32% yes vote. So there you have it. This is a strike against those 10 different studios, the ones that were struck from the beginning. This doesn't include Hoyoverse and other developers
Absolutely
that have been struck
does
that
not.
have nothing to do with the strike.
God
there
damn
are also
it.
two final
Why
steps
would
to
it?
be reached before the strike can be officially called off. An approval by the National Board and ratification by the membership, which will take weeks. Sam Slade saw the post by SAG-AFTRA and thought, you know what, let me just share the most important details for people who don't want to read. Saying, for anyone confused about what this means but don't want to read past the headline, I got you, yippee. Showing part of that post on SAG-AFTRA's website. But then someone asked, could I ask how this would affect games like Hoyoverse since they're non-union and wouldn't have signed? I see people saying it doesn't make a difference, but I don't know if that would be true. Maybe Global Rule 1 would become less strict or something, I'm not sure, but so happy about this. Sam replies with, I'm not a SAG member, so I don't have answers to questions about the union's policies, sorry. An actor's decision to withhold work is a personal choice, you'd have better luck asking the actor directly.
Son of a
So in
bitch.
Sam's defense, even union actors have no idea about this, because SAG-AFTRA is nothing but transparent. And this question about Global Rule 1 is very important. Global Rule 1 states, no member shall render any services or make an agreement to perform services for any employer who has not executed a basic minimum agreement with the union, which is in full force and effect in any jurisdiction in which there is a SAG-AFTRA National Collective Bargaining Agreement in place. This provision applies worldwide. Simply put, a SAG-AFTRA member must always work under a union contract around the globe. Now, it's important to note, for video game contracts, 80% or more are usually non-union, and SAG-AFTRA knows this, which is why for years they've never pursued someone who is in the union who was working a non-union contract. That was, of course, until this strike had begun. Those threatening letters that Venti's voice actor was receiving, that was because she was breaking Global Rule 1 by voicing for Genshin. This new agreement that's now being finalized only gives SAG-AFTRA even more power when it comes to employers under their jurisdiction. So one has to truly wonder, can union voice actors truly continue to work non-union projects, which are the majority of projects in video games? And
I don't
even
know.
bother asking a union voice actor about this because even they don't know. Okay, again, SAG-AFTRA
I can't imagine a more unreliable answer than going directly to a voice actor, bro. I couldn't imagine something more unreliable than talking to these assholes. There's no way in hell they're ever gonna give a straight answer.
Is very transparent and honest. We'll only be finding this out when it's too late. If I had to sum up the sentiment here, overall, people are happy for the voice actors that were not entitled, of course, but are still mad at SAG-AFTRA for how they handled the strike and how they continue to handle themselves. And I'm almost positive that the only reason they reached this tentative agreement was because of backlash from their own union members.
Right.
Because as evidenced by the leaked messages we have of a couple of members in the negotiating committee, they had zero intentions of accepting this agreement. It kind of leaves you with a bitter taste in your mouth. And speaking about bitter taste in your mouth, Corinna actually recently got on a podcast for some reason with someone who has already laughed at the unhinged rants in the past. In it, we had a
Shot the
huge
paper bag boy.
revelation.
Let's
Paimon
go.
is not being voiced anymore. Apparently, Jacob Takanashi taking up Kinich was the final straw for Corinna, even though Corinna had very openly stated that voicing Paimon is the only reason they can afford to live and not be homeless, stating, "Thanks, paper bag boy, for having me." But yeah, I make the announcement here that after John got recast, that was the final straw
Shout
for
out
me,
to
and I
Paper
told
Bag Boy
Hoyo I
again.
was not coming back to record until they signed the SAG interim agreement. Of course, when people heard these news, they rejoiced, okay? People were celebrating like I've never seen them celebrate before. But this right here is what's worrying.
Dude, it was felt worldwide. Like, everyone was celebrating the fact that Corinna was no longer voicing Paimon. It was really, really fucking funny. It was really good, bro.
Are all union actors
Me
going
too,
to
by the way. I
follow
was
Corinna's
absolutely,
mentality because they'll be forced
I
to
was
by
absolutely
the Global Rule 1
celebrating.
being finally applied? Is every single studio on US soil meant to sign this agreement, not just the 10 companies that were struck? Unless SAG-AFTRA clarifies,
I don't know,
we
bro.
have to
I
assume
literally
that
don't
that's the
know.
case. And if it is the case, then union voice actors will continue to be replaced by overseas talent. That is a fact.
It's gonna happen.
Look, in the end, all I can say is I truly want voice actors to get what they deserve. A proper contract that gives them proper rights and good compensation. But when it comes to SAG-AFTRA, we can't deny that the flaws are way too much to ignore, including hiring members of the negotiating committee that have a very clear bias, one that they're proud to showcase to people who can vote. I hope that this made things clearer to you as a consumer, but more importantly, if you're a voice actor watching or a union member, I hope you now realize that it was thanks to your pressure that SAG-AFTRA finally folded and that the negotiating committee was never truly fully on your side. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I truly wish the best for all the voice actors, except the entitled ones from the last video.
Except for the Genshin voice actors. Screw them.
That is. I love you so much. Mwah.
Duncan Crabtree Ireland, I'm so sorry that the strike made you go homeless anyway. Wow, you went homeless because of the strike? That's so crazy. Anyways, on another note, chat, dude, that was a great video. I was hoping a little bit more, just because, you know, I kind of wanted a little bit more spicier memes out of that. But you know what? I'm just glad that the strike is over in some way or another. I couldn't even tell you how. I just want to play my silly gacha games and have fun playing these games while people watch me troll online. Anyways, chat, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you gamers in the next one. Bye.